Athletic Brewing Company is reimagining beer for the modern active adult. Their great tasting athletic craft brews let you enjoy the refreshing taste of craft beer without the alcohol or the hangover. You can enjoy them anytime, anywhere, and still be healthy, active, and at your best. And when AB won North American Brewer of the Year at the International Beer Challenge, the judges were shocked to find out it was alcohol-free. I mean, seriously? Buzz-free beer that is better than the rest? And to top it all off, as part of Athletic Brewing, Two for the Trails program, 2% of all their sales are donated to causes and organizations that support healthy, outdoor active living through park and trail cleanup and maintenance. Whether you've decided to cut alcohol out of your life for good, for a night, or just one drink, Athletic Brewing Company provides an option without compromises that you're guaranteed to enjoy. To try their award-winning non-alcoholic beers, go to athleticbrewing.com. Use the code PNF20. You'll save 20% off your first order. There is free shipping on orders of 2 6-packs or more, or you can use their store finder to find it on shelves near you. Athletic Brewing. Brew without compromise. This segment is brought to you by Jig Masters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
You're listening to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast with your hosts Ryan Milford and Sean Lavery. Welcome back to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm Ryan. We got Sean in here once again.
Hey guys, what's up?
And today we have the one and only Mr. Jay Wallen. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you, fellas. Appreciate y'all having me on.
I almost said welcome back because we actually have done this episode already, but due to I don't know, mechanical errors or whatever you want to call it, technical errors. It got lost, so it's a re-recording. So appreciate you coming back on here and doing this for us. You were supposed to open up 2021 for us, but technology
not a problem.
had other plans.
That's all right. That's okay. But, I've done a little fishing since then, so maybe I've got some insights for you.
Yeah, a little freshening up before you.
Yeah.
I've attempted to do some fishing, but I haven't had any luck yet. I've gone out 3 times and got skunked all 3 times. So,
man, it's a tough time of year. It can be. That's for sure.
I haven't been out in 2021 yet.
Yeah. I fished a little tournament last weekend down in Tennessee. It was a little bit warmer. There's some snow on the mountains. I mean, it wasn't warm. It was cold.
Yeah, the weather hasn't been too bad around here. I'm middle Tennessee. We've had a couple cold days, but it ain't been too bad overall.
Right. Yeah.
But for people that may not know who you are, you want to go quick little intro, who you are, what you do, all the good stuff.
Well, I'm from Eastern Kentucky. Kayak fishing's been something that I've been doing for about 7 years. I've been fishing for, better part of 35 years for sure. Been fishing different levels, state level here in Kentucky, fished the national trails, started with KBF, fished some Hobie events, won a tournament here or there. And actually the highlight of my fishing career has probably been, making Hobie Worlds, getting to go to Sweden, represent the United States. That was really cool. I've just kind of been around the game a little bit, fished a lot of tournaments, been fishing tournaments for quite a while and doing a lot of traveling, seen a lot of people, seen a lot of things, but that's pretty much my story, man. That's what I do. I run around and fish everywhere I can.
What did you fish for in Sweden?
We fished for pike, zander, which is basically walleye, and then these perch. And the perch were like, they get up 3-4 pounds. They kind of fished a lot like bass. They were actually kind of fun to catch. It was interesting over there, though. You're fishing some deep water. These guys were catching fish in like 70 foot of water, but that's where the fish were, and they were over top of like 300 feet of water.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. Like you'd see big balls of smelt and then pike and stuff underneath it, out 70, 80, 100 foot deep. And you're in 200-300 foot of water. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've always thought it's kind of a crazy concept, like the Hobie world.
It is.
You win or place well, however it is, in a bass tournament. Like, oh, we're going to send you this other country across the world to fish for a fish that you've never fished for before.
Yep, that's it. That's what kind of makes it fun, though. I mean, you never know where you're going to go, what you're going to be doing. I know the next Hobie Worlds is in Sweden. They've announced that. I know that there's a whole contingency from Brazil, and they have really been pushing for a Hobie World. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or two to see whenever we can open back up and actually do some traveling. But I could see the Hobie Worlds being in Brazil sometime. Peacock bass, some of the other stuff they got going on down there. Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, you just never know. What those guys might be fishing for down there, but they've got a resort down there. It's it's around some of the I can't remember. I talked to a guy about it. He was this was in Sweden. It's been a couple of years ago, but he was telling me there's like 8 rivers that come together, and it's perfect for kayaks. And I don't know, sounds kind of wild, but I'd be down.
I think that sounds really cool. Except, like, don't Brazil have like some like nasty snakes or something like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, you remember that movie Anaconda, right?
Was that in Brazil?
Might as well have been.
Close enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't like snakes, especially big snakes.
I know. I can handle gators, but snakes kind of creep me out.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. It's kind of weird, but like a big alligator seems less intimidating than like a little snake.
I agree.
Yeah. We don't get much alligators up in here in PA, so I still think that would probably make me wake up a little bit.
Yeah, they're okay as long as you don't mess with them during mating season. 9 times out of 10, they're fine.
I don't think I'd mess with them any season, but
I agree. No, that's right.
Well, the reason we brought you on here is because, I was looking for somebody to teach us the ins and outs of using an A-rig, and we had an interview with Kurt Smits, and he said we got to get you. You're the A-rig man. Person to talk to.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm the man. I'm one of them. I throw it a lot. And honestly, it's funny. The first time we talked about this, I was telling you guys, how productive it can be, and just how good it is at putting numbers and big fish in the boat. And since we talked until now, I've actually probably had one of my best 4 to 5 day runs on the A-rig here in Central Kentucky. So I've got a video that's going to come out soon, and it's pretty spectacular. Yeah, we kindly crushed them for about 5 days on it.
I know you had said on the first time we recorded this that like right there around Christmas was like the hot spot for that A-rig whenever it really turns on. So I guess you just went through that. So,
I did. It was the timing was perfect, really, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That window right there, it's hard to beat. And it's just when that water temperature gets right, the length of the day gets right, those bait fish start, really moving back out offshore. And that's, when the bait fish are suspended offshore, it makes them pretty easy to find. I mean, you just run around with your graph, until you see these big pods of bait. And I mean, it's textbook stuff when you see it. It's just a huge pod of bait with big arches and dots underneath it. I mean, I've actually posted some Humminbird screenshots of my side imaging, my down imaging, some of my sonar shots. My Instagram page or Facebook page has a lot of those shots, and I mean it's textbook stuff. I mean it's incredible what they look like when they get set up like that.
Well, since we recorded that last time, I got to go out a couple times and I played with a rig a little bit. So I got a few more questions than what we what I initially had.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. When you covered Thanksgiving to Christmas is a good time. What are some other good times to use an A rig?
Yeah, well, the winter time, I mean, like right now it's mid-January. It's almost as cold as it's going to be all winter. The days are starting to get longer. Right now it's probably for me it gets tough with the A rig. They're not super willing to chase down a big flashy rig. Now you still catch them in the wintertime. I mean, it's great in cold water. But once it starts heating up, late February and then all into March. March is another fantastic month, especially in this part of the country, to throw the A rig. March all the way into April, right until they come up to when they're ready to spawn. When they start that transition to the spawn, you're going to see that A rig slack off a little bit. But when they're staging on those first breaks and stuff, getting ready to come up to spawn in March and probably the early part of April, it can be really, really good.
I guess do you want to cover I was thinking the first time we talked, I think we went over rod reel combination kind of thing, and that might be good to cover too.
Yeah, sure. So I'm throwing a 7'7", extra heavy, extra fast rod. It's a G Loomis NRX. Extra fast in that NRX sounds like it's really, really stiff, and it is. I mean, it's stiff, but it does have a little bit of tip to it, which is something that you want to help get that. Something about that bend in the rod really seems to sling that rig, when you're trying to get some distance out there. Now, a buddy of mine, AJ McWhorter, he throws a little bit different rod. He's got an 8-foot rod that's got a little bit more bend to it. And he likes that, and his hookup ratio has been really good. So, I mean, you can use a variety of rods. You want something fairly long, 7.3 minimum, I would say. If 7.2 is all you got, you make it work. But anywhere from a 7.3, 7.4 all the way up to 8 foot. AJ's using an 8-foot rod. I'm using a 7.7. You want something pretty heavy and something light, so you're not, you throw that thing all day for 4 or 5 days, and you're going to feel it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely rougher. One of my questions was, where I played with it a little bit. Is there like a technique you use when casting? Because something I noticed, like trying to rear back and cast it, and it I don't know, it felt weird. I didn't get much distance, and I think a lot of that was because I was scared to sling it too hard.
Yeah. Well, an overhand cast with something that heavy, it kind of increases the chance to backlash. Mm-hmm. I'm almost a side sweep kind of a cast. It's hard for me to explain. In some of my videos, you'll be able to see me making some casts with the rig. and it's really just more of a side sweep. Because like you say, it's a little awkward to throw something that heavy, directly overhead like you would a jig or a crankbait or something like that. It's just there's something about that weight and being able to throw it. The side sweep and then, turn your brakes up a little bit until you get comfortable. And then I always over tighten my reel and then kind of ease off just little by little, get it good and tight, and then just take your time with it. And I think eventually you'll be able to loosen it up a little bit more, and you'll start getting that distance you're looking for.
See, I actually had an issue where I'm not sure if it was my rod or my line or what, but I cast it. It was like within probably the first 5 minutes of me using this thing, but I cast it and my line actually broke and a rig went flying.
Oh no.
Luckily, it was in kind of shallow water and the braid floated, so I was able to
Okay.
put it
All
over
right.
there and grab the braid. And catch it.
Yeah.
I was scared to throw it after that, though.
Did it break at the reel, or did it break somewhere else down the rod?
I didn't really pay attention to it.
Okay.
Possibly could have.
Had you backlashed any recently?
Man, it's
A
been
lot of times, what can
now.
happen with that braid is you throw that rig out there, and whatever happens, you end up getting a backlash. It can burn a spot down in your line, and then eventually it just gets weaker and weaker, and then you'll cast and it'll just, like you say, it'll just disintegrate. Almost a lot of times you won't even feel it. It'll just, that's another reason why I throw 65-pound braid. It's a lot harder to do that the thicker the line you use.
That is one thing. If I'm gonna continue to use it, I'm gonna have to bump that up because I think I was using 45 just because that's what I already had on a reel.
Sure.
And I think the A rig that I use is a little bit lighter compared to some of the other ones that people use.
Yeah.
Still probably gonna have to bump that up.
Wouldn't hurt. Yeah.
So you cover your rod, so your reel. What's your you want to go with
I'm using
ratio?
I'm using the Shimano Tranks, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a 5.4 to 1 ratio reel. It's pretty slow reel.
Slow.
Yeah. I like that. Now the line retrieve is actually I can't remember how much line it pulls in every turn of the handle, how many inches it is, but it actually pulls a lot of line in. It is a slow gear, but what that really helps with is, it acts like a winch. I mean, it just, you can crank those fish in with it. But I like the way it casts. That's one of my big bait reels. It's got the gearing and can handle it. I am pretty interested. Shimano's got a Corrado 300 coming out. Yeah, and it's designed for big baits. So I'm kind of interested to see what that's about.
And then you mentioned 65-pound braid. Do you do straight braid, or do you do a floral leader or mono leader?
I do straight braid.
Okay.
I go straight to it. My thinking on that is the only downside to braid, in my opinion, is the noise that it transmits. It's pretty loud. Braid is loud. But I still find that, the visibility of the braid, I don't think is a problem. They're hitting a chandelier. I don't think a little bit of braid's too big of a deal. I just like the no stretch, and the hook sets that I get with the braid. I know that I can horse those fish and not worry about breaking anything off. I enjoy the braid.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess if you're throwing an A rig, you're probably not super worried about line visibility at that point. So.
Right.
So let's talk about where you're using this. The times of year you've described, I don't know. I guess it depends on where you're at in the country. Like fish could be pretty much anywhere. They could still be some up shallow. They could be deep. So where are you generally targeting?
Well, a lot of these fish, they're looking for stable water, and that water is going to be a little bit warmer, out deeper. And that's where the food is. The bait fish have moved deeper. If it gets too cold for those bait fish, they're going to die. And so they're trying to go to some deeper water where it's a little bit warmer, and they probably have a little bit more oxygen. And so those fish are just going to follow that bait, and for the most part. So where I'm at in Central Kentucky, on a lake that's primarily shad, that's the primary forage is shad out there. those bass are going to be following those shad. And for me, that's anywhere from 20 to 30. I actually, the last time I went out there, the water temperature had dropped quite a bit. I actually caught the deepest fish I've ever caught, and that was in 47 foot of water. And that was on the rig.
Okay.
Yep. And the only reason I was fishing that deep, it's not like, I mean, that's crazy to me. Like 47 feet is crazy to me. And I was actually moving from one spot to the other, and I went around a really deep point, and they were stacked. And I was just like, I have to throw on that. So I turned my boat and just threw everything out. And I literally fed line until I got to the backing on my reel.
Wow.
And I let it out. I just let it keep going. And then I just slow reeled it back. And he nailed it on the first cast. Yeah. So anywhere from 20 for me, 20 to 40 foot deep. Anywhere you see those bass on the graph, when you see them, you figure out how deep they are, and they'll eat this time of year.
So is it safe to say, like, you're not out just randomly casting, hoping there's a fish somewhere? You're actually looking at your graph, seeing there's fish down there, and that's when you're using that A rig, when you know there's fish down there.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
We'll see. That
it's not a search bait for me. It's there they are. Let's catch them. It's not. I'm not going down a bank throwing the rig back. Well, I'll take that back. I will go down a bank and throw that rig if I've gone down that bank and see fish. I'll sit there and throw on. But this time of year, those fish are getting in very specific clumps. When you see them, what you're looking at. It's obvious. And so you just sit there and fish on them. And then if your screen, goes blank, you need to start moving, move around and figure out where they went. A lot of times, I'll get on a school and I'll catch 1, 2, maybe 3. And the next thing you know, you're like, okay, where are they at? And you might have to pedal 50 yards, to the left and go scan around and look for them. And then you'll find them again. Those fish, they just kind of pull up and pull off, different times of day. They might pull out and suspend and 40 foot, but then, a pod of them may come in at 20 foot to feed, and they may feed for 10 minutes and then they're going to pull back out. So this time of year, fish are weird. They do some funny stuff, but ultimately they're trying to conserve energy, eat when they need to, and get an easy meal, and be right back to deep stable water. So that's just the kind of stuff I'm looking at. Some of the stuff I've been fishing has been a railroad bed and a road bed. You're looking for stuff that starts out shallow and breaks off into some deep water, around those channels. Look at points. If your lake doesn't have railroads or road beds or any of that stuff, look at deep points near main river channels, that kind of stuff. And those fish they'll hole up. A lot of times if you're fishing a river or a current-oriented lake, they'll be on the downstream side of points, staying in that current break. And they'll just hump up there in the wintertime, and they'll sit.
Are you we talked a little bit about looking for the bait balls and the fish underneath them. That's generally, like, if you just see the fish without the bait balls, are you not throwing, or are you going to look around till you find the bait balls?
No, if I see some fish, I'm going to throw on them.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a lot easier when you do see a giant bait ball, and then because those bait balls stick out so easy on that hummingbird, and then if there's fish under them, you start looking, getting a little bit better dialed in, start paying attention a little bit more, and you can start to pick up fish. A lot of times they'll blend right in on the bottom, and they're just kind of under them, not necessarily feeding. So
Okay.
There's a lot of different things you can look for, but I'm always looking for bait balls. That's a big key.
Yeah, if you see bait balls, that's usually an indication for me to at least stop and see what's around.
Yeah, and especially too if those bait balls are really tight. That's what I want to see. I want to see like a basketball. Sometimes you'll see them spread out, and you can actually see some space in between the bait. You'll see little dots all over your screen. But if they're bunched up tight and it's just a giant blob, and you can't definitively make out anything, that means something's been feeding on them. They're pushing, those fish are bunching those bait balls up. So the tighter the bait ball, the better.
It's interesting. I never thought about that or heard about that or.
Yeah, it used to be like on the old Lowrance units, you were always looking for. It depended on what color palette you had, but you were always looking for the red ball. Because as those fish would get spaced out, it would return. This is when we just had 2D sonar. It would return as a yellow. But then if they were really tight, that sonar return would turn red. And so that's when you knew it was on. When that bait ball was red, it was game on. And it's the same thing with down scan, side scan, all that. When that bait ball gets tightened up, there's fish harassing them for sure.
Makes sense. All right, so we've talked rod, reel, line. How about baits? Like, what different A-rigs are your go-tos? I know there's a lot of them out there, but there
are. There's a lot out there, and there's only a few, in my opinion, that are quality. The Picasso, they've got an entire line of A-rigs. They've got the bait ball, the Sweet 16, the Perfection rig, the BFL rig. I can't even sit here and name all the different varieties that they've got. Hog Farmer is one out of Central Tennessee, right there around Chickamauga. They make a quality A-rig. So those two, if you just buy one of those two brands, you're going to be set with a quality A-rig for sure. And I know Hog Farmer's got a lot of different models. They have heavier versions, one's with blades, one's without. Same for Picasso. I like the blades personally, although it can be detrimental if you're trying to fish deep. The blades can really hinder that because those blades want to lift. They cause rise in that rig, and so it's harder to keep those deeper. But I still like to throw them.
Hog Farmers, that's the one that KBN had on not too long ago.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Same guys.
I listened to that episode, and that was I liked what they were saying.
That guy's done a really good job. He understands how the rig works, and he knows about it. Obviously, I mean he's very successful with his business, so he understands the rig very well, and they do a good job.
Well, something else as far as like rigging goes is your hooks, and something that we mentioned last time that I want to make sure we mention this time. Check your local state regulations on how many hooks you're allowed to have before you go out throwing this, because I know here in Tennessee you're only allowed to have 3 hooks. Some states you can have as many hooks as you want to. You can have 100 hooks on there. Some states I think even just 1 hook, I believe.
Yep, that's right.
Wow.
So make sure you check that out. But yeah, as far as
and that's. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that's Picasso's got that BFL rig, and that's what that is. It's a 3-wire setup for the A rig. So if you're in somewhere like Tennessee or someplace that only require lets you have 3, you can get that BFL rig, and it's pretty much set up ready to go for that. And that's the thing with me. I'm in Kentucky, but I fish a lot in Tennessee. I've had a annual Tennessee fishing license since I was probably, I don't know, however old you had to be to have a fishing license. Probably since I was 13. So it's hard. I fish a lot, so I've got to have 3-wire A rigs and 5-wire, and you get on Dale Hollow or something, and you really got to pay attention to. Honestly, if I'm on Dale Hollow, I just won't even put a 5-wire in the boat because I don't want to run the risk of being in Tennessee, having a 5-wire in the boat. I usually just take a 3, but it's not a bad idea to have a mix,
And for anybody that's not familiar with A-rigs, you can have a 5-wire but only have 3 hooks on it and have a couple dummies on there. You want to explain how you rig it up, like the dummies on there?
Yeah, so actually, I use the. I'm not trying to plug them, but Picasso makes the little dummy heads. You can get different weights, different sizes. So if you want to put a dummy head, it's just a little plastic head that loops onto your snap on the A rig, and it's got a one of those spiral plastic keepers, and you just literally screw your swim bait right into that keeper, and that's it. And if I'm going to put dummies on, I always put them on top. That rig's coming horizontal through the water. Uh, Put those two dummies on top, have a hook on your middle wire, and have two hooks on your bottom wires, because those are all the swim baits that the fish is going to come to first. So if you're going to put dummies on, definitely always put them up on top, and use those little dummy heads from Picasso. It's easy setup.
I need to pick some of those up sometime. So let me ask you a question. With a little redneck engineering, using what I had, I came up with something. I don't know if it's legal or not. So I'm gonna ask you. So I don't know if you know that, but if you take like a swim bait head and you cut the hook off and leave just enough curve to it just to hold the swim bait on there, would you say that that's legal, like not counted as a hook? Or
I think it is legal, and the reason I think it's legal, it doesn't have a point and it doesn't have a barb. So it's kind of hard to be a hook without a hook point and without a barb.
right.
So I would say that what you set up does not meet the definition of a hook, in my opinion.
All right, cool. And if it does meet the definition of a hook,
And that's what I would tell the conservation officer.
Yeah, if there's any TWRA agents out there, I have not tried this rig that I'm describing right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that doesn't meet the definition of a hook to me. So I think you're okay.
Well, great minds think alike.
Yeah, I think you'd be all right. I mean, the idea is if you look at the intent, you have modified that head with the intention of not trying to catch a fish on that head. You've deliberately taken the barb and the point, the fish catching mechanism off of it. So like your intention isn't to catch a fish.
Yeah, it's got.
I think it'd be okay.
Just enough curve to it, just to hold it on there. So like, if a fish gets hung on that, and then can't get off, if he can't get off, like he deserved to be caught anyway.
I agree. I agree. No, I think you're safe there. I think you'd be all right.
All right. So as far as the ones that actually have a hook on it, what kind of heads are you running for that?
So I actually don't fish a lot of jig heads on my A rig. I use a 4/0 16th ounce.
There's the dummy head. I just shared my screen.
There you go.
That's what that looks like. And then I think I can change to the other heads here. So we're just playing around with this software. It gives us a few other cool things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And if you look, they've got different sizes, all from a 16th all the way up to a quarter. So, if you need to add some weight, you can, those are definitely, those are the ones to get for sure.
Cool.
I feel like I need to take away weight.
Yeah, I get that too. But no, I don't use jig heads. I use actual weighted swim bait hooks like Gamakatsu or Mustad. They make some VMC. There's some good brands out there. Our Owner, obviously. And I just use the little belly weighted swim bait hooks, 4/0 16th ounce. Seems to work pretty good for me.
Cool.
So you're going weedless on them.
I'm going weedless, yeah. But the lake that I fish has a lot of stuff to get hung up on. I'm fishing flooded timber, chunk rock, you name it, guardrails, stumps, trees, railroads, bridges. There's just crazy stuff in this lake I fish to get hung up on. So there's grass
too.
Yeah, there's grass. There's a lot of stuff to get hung up on. And what I do, I'm using 65-pound braid. I'm using 16th ounce hooks, but I'm using the light wire hook. So if I do get hung up, I just point my rod at it and pull with that braid and that hook bends or breaks, and I would much rather do that than lose the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've
They're
lost a rig.
expensive.
No doubt. No doubt.
So,
So that's the terminal tackle. So how about plastics?
I'm a kayak guy. I use a lot of kayak. If I'm trying to be, I don't want to say if I'm trying to be cheap, but if I'm trying to like conserve my kayaks, maybe I've got a tournament and I'm trying not to use them because kayaks are pretty soft, and they don't hold up great to a lot, but they catch fish. I mean, that's it's kind of like a Cinco. They don't hold up great, but daggone, I mean, they catch fish. Some of the best soft plastics don't hold up, and I think that's probably what makes them so great. So I'm a kayak guy, but if I'm just out having fun, doing some pre-fishing or whatever, I'll use the Strike King Rage. I guess it's called Rage Swimmer.
Or Rage Swimmer.
It looks just like a kayak, but it's a little bit firmer plastic, so it holds up a little bit better. So if I'm trying to conserve, I'll use those. I can pick those up at Walmart for nothing. So, but kayak and those Rage Swimmers, I mean, to me, that's all I need.
To go off what you were just talking about with the kayaks being soft, I once fished a 4-hour tournament, went through a whole pack of kayaks and didn't catch any fish. It was just bouncing off rocks and stuff.
yeah, that's right. I mean, you get it hung up, and if you get it out, I mean, it's going to be tore up. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
and they're not cheap. They're not cheap. But man, their action, everything about them.
They catch fish.
They do.
I mean, everybody that listens to the show has heard about my success this past year with the kayak and that Wicked Willow. Like, that's been my go-to pretty much all year since April, May, something like that. But
and like it's not a bad idea to have some of the less expensive stuff on hand.
Oh, I got some Rage Swimmers. I got some of the Bass Pro brand that is similar to it.
Like I said, if I've got a tournament coming up and it's like I might be using my kayaks, I'll save those for my tournament. But if I'm out maybe filming something or just out having a good time, I'll use the Rage Swimmers. No reason to burn through your good stuff.
Yeah, and I've had pretty good success with the Rage Swimmers for the time.
I have too.
I've used them as well. I made a trip to Kentucky this year, and I ran out of the colored kayak that I like. I love the Tennessee shad in Kentucky, and I ran out of it. And so there's a Cabela's there, and I went up there, and I didn't know Cabela's. I don't know if it's all Cabela's or this one, or I'm not sure of the details, but they didn't have kayaks, but they had the Rage Swimmers and they had the Bass Pro brand and all that. So I ended up buying some Rage Swimmers, but I bought the what was it? I think it was Electric Shad or something like that.
Yeah, and man, had a little blue in it, maybe.
Yeah, like blue sparkle. Yeah. Man, I caught a lot of fish off those right there. Yeah. I caught some decent fish too. That was the very first Noobs tournament where I came back. I was in like 20 something, and like the last couple days I came up to like 12th. But
kayak's a good way to do that. Well, not a kayak. But I mean those little swim baits are they catch fish.
I'm a believer in them.
Yeah.
But okay, so as far as you use your kayaks or Rage Swimmers on the A rig. Is there specific colors you tend to go to?
I mean, I'm looking at all shad. I'm shad color 99% of the time. I'll keep some green pumpkin if I'm. I like that as a chatterbait trailer, but that's a whole other conversation there. But shad, I'm all shad. My favorite color kayak is probably the, and I'll get it wrong, but it's the Pro Pearl Blue Red. I think that's it. The Pro Pearl Blue Red.
I know what you're talking about.
That's the name of it. Yeah, I probably butchered it, but That's it. That's the one. I mean, that's my favorite color. I'll use it. I'll use some of the sexy shad, and some of the Tennessee shad. I like it too. But that's really all you need. I mean, out of those colors, I mean, you're trying to imitate a school of thread fins or gizzards, you know. So those color options pretty much take care of that.
You hear some people using one color, and then for the middle one, the one that tends to hang back a little further, use a different color for that to kind of and use a different size, kind of make it look like a bigger fish chasing a school. Do you do that any?
I do. What I do typically is the middle wire will be a little bit larger bait. You know, I may do 4.3s on the outside and then like a 4.8 in the middle. But I do like using all the same color. And what I'll do is I'll take a little chartreuse marker and I'll draw a single line on that middle swim bait tail, just on the tail with a little chartreuse stripe. And that, you know, more often than not, I'm getting hit on that middle one. I don't know if it's the chartreuse stripe or if it's a little bit bigger, but I'll probably never know the answer to that because I'll never not do it. So
if it works, I'd keep doing it.
Yeah, it works.
Don't fix what ain't broke.
That's right. Now we, just talking about my recent experience out there, where AJ and I, AJ came in town and we were out there throwing the rigs for 4 or 5 days, and we each caught a couple over 7. I caught one over 8, handfuls of 5s and 6s. I mean, it was 4-pounders, 3-pounders. We didn't catch much under 3 pounds, I'll say that. And we had some spectacular days out there.
Next time y'all get together, hit me up.
Yeah.
I need a weekend like that or whatever it was y'all had. Yeah,
it was pretty spectacular.
It sounds awesome.
And for the most part, we had the whole lake to ourselves. It was freezing cold. It was miserable. And we just it was raining one day. I mean, it was raining, trying to convert to snow. Wind was blowing. I mean, it sucked. It was bad. But we were just sitting out there laughing, catching fish. It was fun.
Well, I caught a new PB since last time we talked.
Congratulations.
It don't feel like much after hearing like your little fishing story there, but it's good to me.
A PB's a PB, dude. That's awesome.
That was still a heck of a fish.
Yeah, it was a good one, and it's so crazy. It was 23 inches. We didn't have a scale, but we're guessing it'd be around 8 pounds because
dude.
It was fat. But it's crazy. It's such a big fish. How you don't even like really feel a bite. It just line got tight, and I set the hook and I'm reeling it in. I didn't even, I was sitting here reeling in like crazy, and I'm like, I'm gonna have a stump, like a stick on here, and everybody's gonna be laughing at me. And man, it came up and showed its face, and I was like, oh, like I hollered out, like new PB.
That's the thing about those big fish, the way they feed. They really truly have such big mouths that was it a bait on the bottom, like a soft plastic or a jig or something?
It was actually a kayak on a Jig Masters underspin.
Okay.
And I was letting it sink and let it get close to the bottom and then just slow roll it across.
Yeah. A lot of times those fish, like I said, their mouths are so big, they'll suck that whole bait in. They're not nipping at it. They're not grabbing the tail. They're not even really grabbing the head. They just open their mouth and pull it in, and you don't even hardly feel it. Yeah, I see that. Yes, sir. Man, your hand can't even get around it.
Yeah, man. I'm not. Yeah. I ain't got huge hands, but I.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a stud fish, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, but that's often been the case for me. Is those big fish? A lot of times you don't feel them. I tell you what, though, when a big one hits the A rig, you feel it.
Do you?
Yeah, yeah. They take a run and go at it. When they hit it, they're moving. It's not that you brought the rig to them necessarily, and it's sitting there waiting for them to bite it. They're behind it. They're moving with it. They're coming to get it.
They're just,
So
they're
they
just
usually,
waiting on the right opportunity.
yeah, and they usually hit it pretty hard.
Well, that just made me think of another question. I believe we talked about this the first time we recorded it, is in the retrieve, I've heard kind of pop it a little bit to make it kind of flutter a little bit. You want to give a little insight on that? Like how you feel about or how often you do it, or
I don't. You probably want to do it at least once per retrieve at minimum. A lot of times it can be just something as simple as, you've got a steady retrieve going and just reel real quick. It doesn't necessarily have to be this huge pull of the rod. Grab the line some and pull it. You can do that. Just little stuff like that. Doesn't have to be a big, huge workout and a big jerk of the rod like you're setting the hook or anything. Just something a little bit subtle. What it is a lot of times those fish are bad to track it. They'll get behind it just like a muskie would. They'll get behind it and follow it, and you just kind of want to do something that's going to make them react. And that's really all you're going for. You're not going to, you're not trying to take it away from them. You're not trying to do anything crazy. Think about how a natural pod of fish would react. If you've ever seen the Discovery Channel turned on at Sears with 40 TVs, and they're showing those, like all the fish in the ocean with the big fish chasing them. When a big fish gets around those bait fish, what do? They tighten up, and it almost looks like they're one fish, breathing, and flexing and pulsing. So that's kind of the idea. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, but that's the idea, is you're trying to make that umbrella rig look alive. And it just adds another dimension of movement to the whole bait.
Do you do any like pauses or stops?
Yeah, the more you retrieve it, the closer to the boat it gets, the higher up in the water column it's going to get. And so a lot of times I really want to keep it down, because I'll fish that thing all the way back to the boat. If I'm throwing it in 25 foot of water, I want to keep it in 25 foot of water all the way back to the boat. And so I'll reel it a little while. And then if I feel like it's starting to get too high in the water column, I'll pause it, mash my button, let some more line back out, let it go back down, and then finish my retrieve, keeping it as deep as I can. So yeah, pauses, quick reels, stuff like that. Pump the rod a little bit, just try to make that thing move. You can pull on the line with your bare hand. Just some different stuff you can do. And find what works. I mean, every day's different, but getting those fish to react, sometimes it takes different things.
I am working on my computer is froze up. I can still hear you guys. Can you guys still see me?
We can see you.
Okay. It's weird. I'm not sure what's happening, but just carry on. I'm just working on the background here.
All right. Trying to think if there's anything we haven't covered on subject behavior. Can you think of anything that we haven't asked or talked about, or?
We've got a pretty good conversation going about it. I would say, as far as time of year, you're looking at October through March, with November, December, and March being probably your best 3 months out of that span. Water temperature. I don't think we talked about water temperature. Anytime it gets to about 52, that's usually when the bite starts getting pretty good. 52 all the way to mid 40s, kind of low 40s. Once it gets below 43, 42, I feel like it starts getting a little slower, and you start catching them on like blade baits and tail spinners and hair jigs and that kind of stuff. Like I said, you can still catch them on the rig in that cold water, but for me anyway, I feel like it slows down. So.
Yeah, I got to work on the those slower techniques as well because wintertime fishing. All right.
I don't know what that was.
But yeah, this time of year, this January, February, that's when I really got to work on. I didn't have a whole lot of luck last year.
Yeah, it's a difficult time. I just fished a tournament last weekend at Cherokee Lake there in eastern Tennessee, and the guy that won was tight lining a little small swim bait on light line, pretty deep. I know the Demiki rig was definitely a good bite that was going on. I caught my fish on a jerk bait. So this time of year, man, you got to fish slow. I know they're catching them on Dale Hollow on blade baits and tail spinners, and float and fly. There's a lot of like crazy wintertime bass techniques that it's just in a class all in its own.
But was that the tournament that I believe it was Josh Sharp won?
Yeah, he stroked him. Actually, we were fishing the same bank. I pretty much watched him catch all his fish over there. I was throwing a jerk bait and he was tight lining. So, but we were actually fishing the same stretch of bank. I just I didn't have the right pattern. I mean, I had a good pattern. I got third, but I didn't have the right pattern. That's for sure.
Sean, did you get your technical errors figured out?
I can still hear you guys, but I can't do anything. My screen is frozen, so I'm like, I don't know.
We can see you. You look
okay,
good.
but I was, yeah. Well, that's good. I'm hoping I can end this. I'm not sure how to end it because everything's frozen.
This is going to be a really long episode.
Yeah, it's just going to keep going.
Ryan, can you see the buttons and stuff, or it won't let you because you didn't start it?
No, I do not have any control.
That's what I was afraid of. So I was looking at another screen. I was going to try and pull up a picture of your bass. So all I can see is your.
See, you're trying to do too much, Sean, and that's why you guys.
So can you hit Control Alt Delete and bring up your task manager?
I've been trying that. It's not. Yeah, no, believe me, I've been trying everything.
Sean's like a support?
I am an IT guy.
For a career.
Oh, okay. So. Fair enough. I wonder though. I'm sure it's still recording it though. Like this, I think it is.
It still says it's recording. So
So like if worse came to worse and you just had to like do a hard reset, it should still hang on to it.
It should save it. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, hopefully we don't lose our recording for the second time.
Oh man,
that's what I'm sitting here. I'm sweating like under my hat.
I think it'll probably be. I mean, I see it. It says it's recording.
I just don't know if I don't hit stop recording if it will stop when I kill the stream. So,
well, only one way to find out.
That's right.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like we covered this pretty well for a second time. And, Jay, it was cool recording with you first time. Cool recording with you again.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll get you back on here another time to talk about some other stuff because I know there's other techniques you use. You talked about, patterbait and all that.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely get you back on here sometime.
I'm telling you, I had a little venture. I don't know if it's going to work out. That I was filming some exclusive content for, and we were trying to get it off the ground. There's a group of us that was trying to do some. It's kind of like Bass University kind of stuff, but for kayak fishing. So we were all trying to record some videos and get that off the ground, and like there was only a couple of us that actually got some videos put together, and so I'm not sure if that's going to be a venture or not. But
I did hear about that.
Yeah, I'm not too pleased with how it's gone. But if that does not end up happening, I've got some killer A-rig videos, and there's another little special bait that I can't talk about, but there's a whole video on it, and we absolutely smash them.
That's
and it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Well,
yeah. I'm hoping if this thing like kind of doesn't play out, those will be up on my YouTube channel real soon, and they're good stuff. It's good stuff. Some big bass.
Cool.
I mean, some real big bass and lots of them.
So everybody, make sure you check out his YouTube channel and keep looking at it.
It's gonna happen.
Keep checking it for that video. I want to see it. You're hyping it up pretty well. I want to see.
I know. I don't really do that. Like,
it better not be a letdown. Yeah.
I don't think it. I really don't think it will be. When I showed it to my wife, because I worked pretty hard on the editing part of it because I had so much footage. Like I shot every day, all day for 4 or 5 days, and got a ton. I had 2 cameras running, a drone, and because the bite was phenomenal, and I got it all. And awesome. It took me a week to edit it all and put it all together in a reasonable, layout. And I showed it to my wife, and she was like, She's like, "That's the best video you've ever done." I was like, "I know it is," and so it's good. It's at least I think it's good. There's a lot of good information. I talk about a lot of the same stuff that we just talked about. The only difference is I was on the water, and as I was saying things, it was just happening. It was so.
Yeah, you could show it as you.
Yeah, and that's all. That's really what it was. I mean, it was. I got some killer screenshots from my Humminbird unit up there, and I'm telling you it. And I'm not plugging anybody. I've used a lot of different electronics, and some of the images that I got off that machine, it's incredible. So there's a lot of good screenshots. You see exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about some of these deep schools and some of the different stuff I was talking about. So the video kind of brings it all around.
Cool.
Awesome, man. Well, do you have any shout outs you want to do? Got some sponsors?
I always got some shout outs, Hobie Kayaks, of course. That just being able to get out and fish out of that kind of boat this time of year. Standing up is a big deal for me. I love to stand up and fish. I feel like that's the way a lot of these techniques are meant to be fished. I don't like fishing sitting down. And this time of year, I was just fishing 41-degree water, and I was standing up in my kayak all day and never once felt unsafe or anything like that. So, I mean, Hobie Kayaks, they're awesome. They take good care of me. Calco's Fishing, got the bait sack, which is the large bait sack is perfect for keeping your A-rig tucked up nice and neat. That's what I use is the large bait sack. JB's Fish Sauce, I always put some of the bait fish scent. I spray my rigs down with JB's Fish Sauce, the bait fish scent. Ram mounts, Yak Power, Power Pole, Shimano G Loomis. NRS Fishing, they take care of me with my PFD. I wear that inflatable, the automatic PFD. I don't like the big bulky, I know they're safer. I don't know if they're safer, but they don't have any mechanism that operates. There's no failure possible with a high flotation PFD, but that NRS automatic, I mean, it's so thin. And I've tested it in the summertime. I've jumped in just to see if it would go off. I got a couple extra CO2 canisters. So I was like, let's test it, see what happens. And sure enough, I jumped in and poof, that thing blew up. So, I definitely trust that thing with my life. And it's very comfortable. It doesn't provide a lot of bulk, easy to fish in. So those are my people. They take care of me. Hobie Polarized. They make some of the best fishing glasses for the money. Most of their sunglasses are under $100, fully polarized. they've got some that could run a little bit higher, but most of them are under $100. Really good shades. So those are my people. They take good care of me, so I appreciate them.
Awesome.
Shout out to social media and all that. I know we got it about on the screen, but for the people just
Yeah,
listening.
I'm on all the major stuff except Twitter. I don't like Twitter. I don't know what's up with Twitter. I don't like it. I don't really get on Twitter, but YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all J Wallen Fishing, jwallenfishing.com. The only thing that's really on my website is just a place where all my stuff is together, like my Instagram photos, my YouTube videos. I've got a blog on there that I don't really utilize, and I may actually start doing some written stuff, doing some articles and stuff, and getting that blog going. I can actually write a little bit if I put my mind to it. And there's always some good topics. I haven't really decided how much I'm going to write, but I think I'm going to try to revive the blog a little bit, hit on some topics, and release some of the knowledge that I've been able to acquire over the last 35 years. I've had a lot of fishermen in my life that, my dad and, I'm in a tight little circle of some old timers from Dale Hollow who've been fishing Dale for, 50, 60 years. And I get to hear stories and they impart a lot of knowledge. And so, I've been able to pick some up from Kentucky Lake, know a couple old guys out there that have been around, seen some stuff. And, I got a lot of knowledge. So there's a lot of different things that I feel like I could write some articles on. So I'm probably going to revive the blog a little bit this year. And I'm not going to write one every week or anything like that, but maybe one a month or so, something like that. So that's where you guys can find me.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on here and sharing your knowledge too, because it's been awesome. So
something I just realized, all the interviews that we've done, nobody's ever shouted out like their TikTok. like they it is like
I don't have a
Instagram
TikTok
and Facebook like the only social media fishermen use. Like, do we not?
Yeah,
do we not use,
no, that's pretty much TikTok? It. My wife's on TikTok. I know Christine's on TikTok. She had one of her first videos. It was me and her and a couple other people down on Chickamauga. And I don't know, you guys may have seen it. I don't know, but so we're fishing and I start looking and I was like, what is that? And it was this giant, like 8-pound bass on the surface struggling. I mean, it was belly up, but it was still kind of moving, it was kicking around a little bit. And I went over and netted it up, and it was an 8-pounder that had like a 4-pounder in its mouth.
Wow.
And we went over there and I scooped it up and they were both still alive. And Christine comes over and it's like, let me film that. And she pulls her camera out and she's filming me with these two giant bass with that 8-pounder trying to eat the 4.
Wow.
And I finally pull them apart and hold them up and then we release them. Well, Christine put that video on TikTok and in like, I don't know, a couple of days or something, I feel like it had over like 2 million views or something like that. It's nuts how fast stuff goes viral.
Yeah, I've heard TikTok, you can blow up quick.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts.
I made an account, but I've kind of scrolled and looked at some videos, but I haven't really messed with it. So,
yeah, it's wild. It's wild the views that it gets.
Yeah, but for future guests, we need more TikTok shout outs. We need your parlor accounts, your MeWe's or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen all that stuff. From what I've seen, I don't want to get into it, but I saw something today. They were saying parlor may not be back. It may be done. It may be gone. I don't know. That's what the vice or the president. He was on TV talking about it today, saying it's possible they may not be able to come back. I don't know. Social media is crazy. It's just crazy. I don't like Twitter though. I don't get Twitter. I hate it. I don't like it.
I've never really tried Twitter. But yeah, Sean.
All right. Well, this has been the Bass Fish for Noobs segment of the Paddle and That's been a while.
You got it. You got it.
Let's start that over. This has been the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment of the Paddle and Fin podcast, where we're bringing you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more lips. Thanks for checking us out, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Later, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com.